Welcome to the Gary DeMar blogcast. This audio is brought to you by Canon Press.
Welcome to the Gary DeMar blogcast. The topic of today's entry is Beware the Little Foxes. A few weeks ago, my wife and I watched the 1941 film The Little Foxes with the always delightful Teresa Wright. The title comes from the Bible, Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 15. Catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that spoil the vines, for our vines have tender grapes. The same passage also inspired the title of the 1945 unrelated film, Our Vines Have Tender Grapes, with a different worldview perspective that counters and serves as a remedy to the outcome of Lillian Hellman's The Little Foxes. Both stories are about families and legacies, and the ability to extend dominion. Every generation faces the same problem. How does it transfer what's been accomplished in one generation to the next generation and beyond? In The Little Foxes, it was by hook or crook. One reviewer wrote, "One of the most caustic and yet exceptionally engaging films ever made. The Little Foxes is the story of a family torn apart by greed. It features Bette Davis in one of the most villainous roles of her career, and exceptional performances by a host of first-rate supporting actors." Our Vines Have Tender Grapes is about a Norwegian immigrant farmer in Wisconsin. Martinius Jacobson, played by Edward G. Robinson, his wife Bruna, and their 7-year-old daughter Selma, played by Margaret O'Brien, who is often bedeviled by her playmate and 5-year-old cousin Arnold. Martinius simply wants to work his land and be a loving husband and father to his family. There are many little foxes that can spoil the vines and affect the legacy of a worldview. The most insidious little foxes began with the sexual revolution in the 1960s. It's become more than free and uninhibited sex, although it was that. Today, sex has been redefined in numerous ways that end up being legacy killers. First, having few or no children will literally kill off a family's legacy. You don't need to have a Duggar-sized family, but size does matter. It's great to see young couples in our church having so many children. It makes me hopeful. While my wife and I only had 2 sons, we have 9 grandchildren. Second, I was sad to read about a Hollywood family embracing their child's gender transition. I quote, Gabrielle Union, one of the biggest supporters of abortion from Hollywood, and Dwayne Wade were the pictures of proud parents when recently their 13-year-old daughter, Zaya, had a one-on-one Zoom with none other than Michelle Obama. "We were bawling," recalls Union, age 48. "She was so amazing and dynamic, and to be able to hold your own with Michelle Obama, it was so impactful." Zaya has been impactful in more ways than one since she came out as transgender last year. A positive voice for youths living their authentic lives, People magazine wrote. This is sick. It's a form of self-malediction, a self-curse that this family wants to spread to vulnerable and impressionable young people. Authentic lives? I don't think so. Nothing can be more unauthentic than self-mutilation of a person's future. Ellen Page is another example of self-malediction, literally cutting off her future. Here's how Wikipedia describes her. Elliot Page, formerly Ellen Page, born February 21, 1987, is a Canadian actor and producer. First, she came out as a lesbian, and then as transgender. Like Union's child, Page is celebrated as a role model for young people. Then in March 2021, Page became the first openly trans man to appear on the cover of Time magazine. She's had top surgery, the surgical removal of her breasts. Here's the payoff as described by a liberal who understands the implications of his own worldview. Quote, "For the past 30 years or so, conservatives, particularly those of the right-wing red state Christian strain, have been outbreeding liberals by a margin of at least 20%, if not far more. One theory goes like this. Liberals are generally more socially conscious and hence tend to actually give a modicum of thought to what it means to pop out a brood of children. Also, many other liberal bohos, that is, bohemians, are admittedly happy, selfish suckwads who want all the modern booty for themselves and won't give up the Ducati motorcycle and the plasma television, and the biannual trip to Cinque Terre, the 5 lands on the Italian Riviera, for the sake of a pod of Rugrats and $15,000 a year each for private kindergarten. Translation, libs just aren't procreating like they could and should be, close quote. Childlessness, abortion, homosexuality, and now sexual mutilation are hallmarks of the destructive worldview of the left. Here's something from Vogue UK, quote, "Is having a child an act of environmental vandalism or an investment in the future? Is it possible to live an ecologically responsible life while adding yet another person to our overstretched planet? Can I get away with it if I just never learn to drive, never get a dog, and keep wearing the same 3 pairs of jeans for the rest of my life? While gestating my son, and probably every day since, I have wondered whether having children is, in itself, an ecologically sound or unsound decision." Close quote. Josh Barrow said what I was thinking. These people are completely insane. How is the left countering these extremes of self-malediction? Education. Conservatives continue to send their tender grapes to indoctrination centers to be reprogrammed by the foxes. Stop it. Get your children out of our nation's propaganda centers. Education is not free if your children's minds are being stolen and reshaped to adopt the modern self-destructive worldview. Most parents cannot counter 12 years or more of nearly daily indoctrination by people who hate your worldview and want it swept into the dustbin of history.
Thank you for listening to the Gary DeMar Blogcast. For more from Gary and American Vision, check out the American Vision collection in the Canon app.